It is Thursday, the 2nd of July, 2020. Hope you had a good week, and we've got a nice long 3-day weekend coming up. The market had a great week, and there were just a ton of really good stocks this week. So let's take a look at the action here. The S&P 500 started pretty much at the low and made higher highs and higher lows throughout the week, maintaining above that week-to-date blue volume-weighted average price. It's back above a rising 5-day moving average, and we now look at this market. Intermediate term is innocent till proven guilty. On the daily time frame, of course, we held that 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average, as well as last month's volume-weighted average price. So things continue to behave well. And again, same exact pattern that we have been talking about for several months. Higher highs and higher lows in the NASDAQ on the daily time frame, record high, all-time high here. So when we look at the 30-minute time frame, again, do we want to buy when it's extended like this at these little, after these little runs, or do we want to buy as the buyers are gaining control or after a pullback? My answer is after a pullback. You don't buy during a pullback, but after a pullback begins to emerge and show strength once again. The Russell 2000 still kind of the laggard here overall, stuck below that declining 200-day moving average. When we look at the 30-minute time frame, it's actually behaving well here. I think that next week, if we get back up above this level here, and this is why, today, this is a perfect example of why we don't chase gaps. I mentioned that to subscribers yesterday, that here's what we wanted to see happen. We wanted to see it break through that level and then pull back and then buy the strength. So that's what we want to do, is buy strength after this, because if we were to have purchased here, it was already extended from that 136 and change area. So back to the Russell 2000. Again, it's still the weaker of them all. If you take a look at even a Fibonacci retracement off of this high to this low, we are at the 61.8% retracement. So it is still difficult going in the Russell 2000, but I think that next week you give the benefit of the doubt, intermediate term, to the buyers, as long as this market is above 141. That's where we have the 5-day moving average and a couple other important levels. Let's take a look at some of the stocks that I had mentioned on Twitter this week. Just this BNTX. It was actually last week that I had mentioned it on Twitter at 54.5, right in here, just as it was starting to get going. The stock hit almost 80 this week, up 75%. Then we have, I was talking about Plug Power yesterday on Twitter, and that you didn't really want to be a buyer of Twitter up here. It was 906. Today it's 910. But instead, you wanted to buy one of their competitors. So Plug has already had this big run. In fact, Alpha Trend subscribers are still long a third of our original position from $5.43 over in here. And now we're long shares of Fuel Cell, and this stock was up 10% today. So this Fuel Cell looks like it's got room to run, similar to Plug Power and some of these other fuel cell type names. So keep an eye on that one next week. You've got AAXN, which is taser and body cams. I had put this one on Twitter right over in here, and these stocks are behaving well. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's at Alpha Trends, and that's where you're going to get all the free content that I put out during the week. Let's go back to the market here and take a look at the semiconductors. They are poised to break to new all-time highs. We have a level of resistance with higher lows. So as long as we're above, we hold 146 next week, it looks to me like it's more likely to break higher than anything else. Now, the good news is that it broke past that today on a gap. We don't chase the gap. So next week, maybe we settle down a little bit first and then continue to move higher. But I see no reason not to give the benefit of the doubt to the buyers. The biotechs have kind of done exactly what we wanted them to do. After that rally up, I traced this in last week and left it on here. We wanted to see a pullback and then continuation higher. Today we broke beyond this band of resistance, and that's the level that we now see the buyers are in control. I think a stop, if you're a fresh money purchase, a stop would go underneath this higher low. That's also where we see the rising 5-day moving average. The financials, they continue to be the worst group. They're still hanging around that 50-day moving average and the volume weighted average price from the March low. So this group is just very difficult to trust. They opened on a pretty good gap higher here this morning, right up to the volume weighted average price from the prior low, and guess what? sellers emerged once again. So just no trust for the financials. If these guys break down next week, it could lead to deeper profit taking in the SPY. But let's think about that, Sunday night. Let's go enjoy 3 days of a long weekend, and that'll do it.